I have torn down the fraternal structure on which my very existence was horned, and left my feet hanging on a brutally paralyzing uncertainty, a very slippery floor I could easily tip into some serious nihilistic chaos. My cognition is an abyss and knew way before the present that one day I will fall into me and never rescue myself. Myself in the everyday sense of who you think me to be. I could easily pull out daggers and yank out my brain tissue, but I would have lost a theological argument. Isn't there a space for some honest agnosticism? A court of sorts for the uncertain softies who have lost the balls to mount themselves on one extreme for the case for life. A kind of theism drunk wild and staggering in intoxication between the polarized extremes, fighting tooth and nail for the certainty of their case. And yes, I'm a coward. I wish I could run away from this little blue ball holding human life into some cosmic space where whys and hows and whats are as nonsensical concepts as smiling would be without humans to imbue the act with meaning itself. Look, I'm exhausted. I'm shying away from conversation because the complexity of the human experience is madness. But I would rather burst some brain cells, go nuts to a point where the largest cranes cannot lift my tongue to utter anything about anything. But let me say something about something. I shall be sunk deep into the dirt without ever placing my confidence and trust on another equally confused human being's research, another equally confused human being's conviction, another equally confused human being's certitude. With their confusion putting parameters over my cognitive ability and policing my thought patterns. But then again, that's self-defeating, because at the end of every thought, every view, every set of belief and every story, there is a human being. Why the heck are we even social creatures with the rare ability to influence each other in the first place? And the thought that there's no running from that is simply deafening. Anyways, honesty. I owe it entirely and greatly to nobody else but myself. Honesty, a word not new to my ears, but of whose application I hid for years inside the tomb of my own complacency. Living my life on cautious, calculated moves with puppet strings hooked deep into my skin. That is not to say that was a gross evil with which I frown on in disgust with a loathing enough to make me puke. It is rather, in fact, to say, I'm not the sort to be drenched wet in cowardice. I'm the conceited fallen angel who's decided to cut off his wings and has started writing his self-fulfilling novel identity in the ink of his own blood. For the first time, I have started living for nobody else but myself. That sounds inordinately egocentric, but if you stop to give it a second thought, is it really? Or is it just a mere shot at something close to an influenced thought pattern that will, in a few years from now, grow into a rhythmic, melodious opera? My feet will toss and twirl in a self-professed power of will. Tell your own story about me. Say it in the context of your own comprehension. You can impale me with 2 nails, 2 strokes, you toothless bulldog. I'm a wildcat. That's why I bite deep into flesh. I've been holding in a tongue swelled fat with other people's opinions and reiterations of their personally researched worldviews. But now, I've decided to pull it out and slit it in half, and the day I grow another tongue, I will inscribe my utterances in stone as strongly held views to die for. Uniformity is always a beauty, but have you ever stopped to think why its opposed puzzle pieces with a hard-hitting distinction that piece up together in a harmonious pattern that wouldn't be close to possible if difference was the defining factor? Well, for a mind hell-bent on rebellion in relation to something a whole different set of individual classes wouldn't deem as an ultimate wrong, the question is somewhat self-defeating, because it's almost assuming difference is the ultimate good. Well, it could, at least in light of a certain particular context. And yeah, I might be at fault for communicating with such inordinate sophistry, but where the heck is the thrill of wonder in light of some boring transparency? Boring transparency! I'm just dusting my hands after erecting a tombstone on the chest of organized fraternity. And tonight, inclusive of the many years to come, I'll be sleeping in the sheets of Defacto-Theism. Turns out she's actually a woman with hands as soft as the moon and a smile as warm as Jupiter. Who knows how Jupiter. My feet now know no religious building, but I own a Bible. And a half-slit tongue that will never cease sending a prayer or two somewhere beyond the cosmos.